I guess you can say my depression started not when I was in middle school. I remember one time I went to the doctor and I like spoke to him about it, and he was just like, "You have a lot of unopened trauma." You know, I was like, and like at a young age, I'm like, "What the heck is trauma? Like, what is that?"
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
like, "It's like stuff that has happened to you, but you choose to like shut it out, like
yeah,
mentally and
yeah,
everything like that." And I was like, "Huh." That was weird because I have like really weird, vivid dreams sometimes when I'm sleeping, and like they don't feel like dreams; they feel like memories that I
yeah.
don't really remember, or it's just like. And so when I remember talking to my doctor about that one time, he was just like, "That is very dangerous. You need to be really careful and everything, because yes, you're just unbagging like a little bit of what's going on like now or what's been going on in the few years, but as you get older, um, those experiences that have happened to you like way younger is gonna eventually come to light and everything like for yourself, and like it's gonna either bring you down or you're gonna choose to like use that as fuel." And that was like, it was awesome because I love my doctor for ever telling me that, because uh I guess it started when I was maybe like 6, 7, when I like started going through like depression and everything. I think it was like the way the things that happened to me at that young age is kind of what caused me to be the quiet, introverted person I grew to be like through elementary, middle school, and high school, because of like I just chose like, oh, like I was young, I didn't know what to think. So I'm like, oh, if I don't tell anyone about this, like it'll be fine. Like I'll just like throw it in my memory and I won't ever remember it. And that's like basically how I went on about my days. But like I always have, like to this day I have memories and everything like that. And like it's just crazy because depression with my family, specifically, it wasn't looked at as a bad thing, which I'm like thankful for.
Hmm.
When my mom, the way my mom reacted the first time and stuff, of course, she was just shocked. I think that was her shock and like everything. But she told me like she has also gone through like depression and everything like that, and so like she understands like how hard it can be to deal with it. So it was that was a good thing. My siblings were super loving and caring. My older siblings, like they just like want to make sure like I'm okay. My younger siblings, they all go through. I'm pretty sure like they all have their own ways that they cope with their issues and stuff. Mine were either healthy or not healthy. But I was thankful enough to have like a family that is open minded to those kinds of things, because a lot of families aren't, especially Polynesian kids. I know I have like a couple friends that are just like, "Oh, my family don't think that's real," and I'm like, I know. It was weird when my grandpa on my mom's side, uh, I love that man. He's like amazing. Like just like one of the best people I know. He When I talked to him about like how I felt, it was really hard because he's straight out of Toma and everything like that. But he was just very open minded to it, because I think he's dealt with it before, not just with my mom, but like her siblings. And like I was like, dang, I wish like all poly grandparents could be like you. I wish like all poly parents could be like my mom or like her siblings, because it's so real, and a lot of people don't see it as real until something happens. And a lot of time that something that happens is either suicide or attempted suicide and everything. So I have like my fair amount of those times. I know it's not fun. It's just like going through those things isn't fun. And like there's always reasons like that don't really like show like, oh, she did it because of this, or like she feels this way because of this. And I'm like, it's there's so much more baggage than people just like than like what you just tell them is going on like right now. And a lot of people don't see that.
Yeah. So So your mom pretty much she knows about mental health, everything, even when
Yeah.
you were earlier age. Okay.
Mhm.
What were like, when you first when she first recognized you were going through mental health issues, like what was her like? Did she give you any like advice or things you can do to help out? Like I'm just interested in hearing what she
Um,
what she
there
said.
weren't really like things she told me like to do like to help because like of course she understood that people cope in their own ways and
Yeah.
stuff. But she did express that like you can talk to me about these things, but it was just after like because of everything I've gone through, the relationship, the way our relationship was, I still didn't really have that kind of confidence to like
Just
talk to her about it.
oh, gotcha.
So
Yeah,
even though she like voiced that I can talk to her, it was still really hard for me too, anyways.
yeah.
So I think like she did a good job at voicing it. It was just me like, uh,
Yeah,
thank
you.
you, but I'm okay.
Yeah, the communication skills weren't at that
Yeah.
level yet. At that level yet. All right. So I'm interested to hear about can if you don't mind talking about, I know you talked about, when you were self-harming yourself. Because I do know there's a lot of I know a lot of people personally that have done that in their life, and I do know that's something that happens a lot to a lot of Polynesians. Um, do you mind talking about that? And only I know you did, but like, how did you get out of it? Like, how did you figure out for yourself to stop doing that to yourself? Because I feel like a lot
Yeah.
of girls and guys definitely need to hear that.
Yeah. One thing I know for sure is that like when I very first harmed myself, like the very first time, of course it wasn't the last, but it was like it was weird because I sat there and I looked at myself, like just looking at what I did to myself, and I was like, I didn't really feel any pain out of that. So while like in the process of me doing that to myself, I don't feel anything. Like it's just like, oh, like I'm just keep going. Like there's nothing to do. Like I don't feel it. Like I'm so emotionally numb that it's physically like not even like hurting me. So the way I was able to get through most of that was like my friends, like my close friends and like my siblings, like just like knowing that like, man, I hurt myself, but like I would never like want my friends or family to do that. And I know they don't want me to do it. So like I can't really tell them like if one of them were to ever come to me saying, "Oh, like I hurt myself," and I can't really look at them and say like, "Why would you do that?" Like that's not okay because that would be make me a hypocrite. Like, dude, you did that. Like that's how you chose to cope with your pain and everything. So I that was kind of what made me like slowly stop doing that to myself, like physically hurting myself that way. I just really tried to look at it from their point of view and everything. And like, that's how I like have lived most of my experiences. Like, how would like they see you if you're doing this or something like that? And like, mostly it's mostly my siblings because I just want to like I don't want them to be like think that they ever were the cause of it or something like that. And like that's what like people can think. That's what like slowly made me like okay, like I need to find different things, like not just like physically hurting myself, whether I am cutting my wrists or I'm punching walls or
Dang, girl.
anything. Yeah, I was angry. I was always quiet, but I always had a lot of anger in me. So I was always hitting stuff or like hurting myself to like bring that like energy out of the way. So I started like, of course, I started pouring my more into the physical things I did instead of like the normal things. So I would like, okay, if I felt like hurting myself, what I would do was I would grab my guitar and I would start and I would learn a new song on the guitar. And I was like, okay, like, because immediately I would just like get so focused on the song. I'd be like, oh, like that's not the right chord, this, and that. So that was one of the ways. Or another way was making sure I was always around with someone and I wasn't by myself as much as I wanted to be by myself. I always made sure I had one person like next to me, whether it was one of my siblings Or if I told one of my best friends to hang out with me, I'm like, hey, like, what are you doing? They're like, nothing, you want to come over? I'm like, yeah, let's go. And that was like my way of coping, basically, and getting over harming myself. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And I guess one question I want to ask you is, because one thing I know about, when I had a friend that, she harmed herself, and then I remember she talked about, like, when their family found out, there's a lot of times because a lot of Polynesians don't understand, mental health and self-harm, they usually just criticize or judge you. And a lot of times when people find out that you're harming yourself, they think that you're like, something's wrong with you. You're crazy. They think you're crazy.
Yeah, they think you're insane.
Insane, crazy. You need to be in a site, those crazy houses. The mental health hospitals. Locked away from everybody. And that's why I know that's what she expressed. But I want people to listen to this, because, like, when somebody, just think about it. It's not, no kid just one day just wakes up and says, you know what, I want to harm myself today. That does not happen normally, right?
That's not normal.
Yeah, exactly. So if they're harming themselves, clearly there's something wrong, and there's always a reason. In everything we do, there's always a reason behind it. And instead of like judging them, you should reach out to that kid or that person and ask them, hey, what's going on? Why are you harming yourself? Like, a lot of your friends did. So I want to ask you, like, what was, like, I know you did mention a little bit, like, you didn't feel anything, and that's when you started doing this. Well, but looking back at it now, when you first started doing it, what was, like, the reason why you wanted, like, what was, like, the reason why you harmed yourself? Like the real reason.
Oh, the real reason, like, one of the main reasons was I was trying to feel something.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe if I, like, hurt myself, like, I'll feel, like, mad at or angry, like, that I did that to myself. But that didn't happen. I was just like, okay, well, that didn't work.
Yeah.
It was, but, like, the feeling of afterwards, like, after it happened, like, the scars, like, it, like, gets a little sore and everything, like, it's a little tender and everything. It made my sleeping uncomfortable and stuff, and, like, when I would sleep, and, like, that was like, man, like, you did all that to feel something, and, like, there's nothing. It's like you're just trying to feel something, but there's literally nothing. And it's just, I was like, dang, how emotionally damaged am I? Because, like, to not even feel physical pain of a blade against my skin. And it's like, and it just, like, gave me the mindset, like, I wonder if I'm scared to die. Like, I wonder if I were ever put in, like, a life or death situation, like, how I would react to that. Like, if there was a gun put to my head or something like that, I'd be like, you gonna do it or am I? Like, that was, like, that would have been me back then. Whereas, like, now, like, I look back at it and, like, I see I have, like, a bunch of scars. So most of them have faded, but I still have them. And, like, every now and then I'll like look at them and I'll see it as, like, you're not weak for doing that to yourself. Mm-hmm. I was like, you were just trying to feel something when you felt nothing. And that's, like, I think that's the biggest thing I want, like, people to know, like, when they're hurting themselves. I've had a few friends come to me, like, telling me, like, I hurt myself again. And I was like, all right. The response I gave them was, did you get what you wanted when you hurt yourself? And they're like, no. And I'm like, yeah, I know you didn't. And they're like, honestly, like, I was like, you were just doing it because you feel nothing, like, you feel empty. And they were like, yeah. And, like, I kind of, like, wanted to see, like, if someone would notice, but no one noticed, like, in my family. And I was like, that one right there. I was like, that's crazy, because, like, even when that happens, a lot of times families will either won't acknowledge it, or they'll say, why would you do that? Like, are you doing this for attention? Like, do you want the attention, like, that kind of attention put on you? And that was like the hard thing. I was like, dang. But, like, it was just me trying to feel something, like, anything.
Yeah.
Out of, like, that dark hole that I was in. I was just like, I can't feel it. And I feel so empty. I feel so bleh. I feel so numb. Mm-hmm. And it's crazy, because that's how I felt. So that's how I felt emotionally. And that's how I ended up feeling physically as well. So, like, those kinds of things just didn't faze me at that point. And I was just like, and then that was, like, also, like, one of the things I look back on, and I'm like, you're not bad. Like not everyone, but like other people have done what you have done because they feel the same way. And like a lot of people don't think that, but that's how I viewed it.
Yeah, and like you said, like a lot of people think that when somebody does harm themselves, like they think it's they're looking for attention, which is crazy for me. Is like just understand like common sense. Like what we think a child would hurt themselves for attention.
I'm like, huh?
All right. So no, just for me, it's like when somebody does that to themselves, it's not for attention. It's like it's pretty much like a cry for help. Like they just want somebody to reach out and understand and help them and love them. That's all that is. So I just wanted to bring that up so people can hear this. If you know somebody in your family that are hurting themselves, please don't judge and criticize it and put them down or make them feel like an outcast. They're just like they said, like you said, perfectly. Like they don't feel something. There's something going on with their life. They don't feel something, and they're just trying to feel something. And usually they need that very thing that they need is actually from the people they look up to, and especially in their own family. Thank you for sharing that. By the way, thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. I do want to go into and talk about. I know you mentioned before you. Growing up early, that you were in a very toxic relationship. I feel like that's happens to a lot of people, but for you, to experience that at a very young age, I know how that can impact you a lot more when it can be more traumatic when you go. For most people, they usually get into relationships, toxic relationship later in life, but as they get older, but you went through that very early.